go ahead and start.
Mm-hmm.
So first, I'm going to go over the safety tools. So as with most Gauntlet games, we'll have the X card. So if you ever feel uncomfortable in any situation, you can feel free to use the X card. Either type X in the chat, put your arms up in an X like this. We'll be using Roll20 for the kind of tableau for the game. So I might be looking at that. So I think it would be good if you just went ahead and like just said X. I'd like to X that, or I'm using the X card just to make sure that I hear you, that I see that you want to use the X card. And we'll roll it back. We'll move it in a different direction. I might want to ask a clarifying question, but we don't have to talk about it, and we'll just roll it in a different direction. And then I want to use lines and veils as well. And so that's just a safety technique where at the beginning of the game, we establish what kind of content we do and don't want to have in the game. So a line is, sorry, did you have somebody say something?
No, I was just reaching for a thing.
Okay, so a line is basically like a hard no. That's something you don't want to have in the game at all. And then a veil is a cut to black, or something off screen, or like alluding to something that happened off screen or in the past. And in the Google folder, there's a lines and veils document, so you guys can put it anonymously, and that document also has the link to the Roll20. Have you used Roll20 before?
No.
So I think you're gonna have to make an account to use it. So just if you click the link, it should like prompt you. Because I think if you don't have an account, it will say like you have to create an account to like use a Tableau. So go ahead and get on the Roll20 and the lines and veils.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like you're both on the Roll20, and with Roll20, it also has a built-in video and audio thing. So since we're using Google Hangouts already, I go into the settings, which is that gear wheel at the so we'll be using this for the card. There's some different cards that we use for the game and for writing the different words and the aspects. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the game. So you guys can get a feel of what we're going for. Have either of you played Dialect before? Yeah, I didn't think so. Can you? I just connected for a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the game. So this is a game about language. Do you recall your first words? They were something simple or silly, no doubt. You were probably toothy and drooling and most definitely loud. Even if you don't remember, you surely said them. The act of saying something, anything, may seem so humble and small, and yet it is quite extraordinary. By speaking and developing language, you are exercising something big, something fundamental to being human. The seed is in each of us, a profound spark that separates us as a species and drives a line between humans, animals, and robots. For now, at least. From your first words, you are anchoring your connection to the world and your place in it. Language is the logic of your internal clockwork. It's how your brain organizes information and how you convey yourself to others. It is your innately endowed technology, and because it is so utterly human, the markers for your culture and identity are embedded within it. Language tells a story. Woven into the way we speak, we reveal what we care about, where we come from, and who we are. It changes as we change. More than ever, we now stand at a critical juncture. Far beyond the natural pace of change, the world is losing languages at an alarming rate. They are being lost to the mundane everyday pressures of money, violence, social prestige, climate change, and free community. As global communication connects us, it also risks compromising our cultural core. Right now, almost 10% of languages on Earth have fewer than 10 speakers. In embracing what brings us together, we threaten to erase what makes us special. What happens when a language is lost? The world takes another step towards sameness, and we lose a shade of humanity. This may seem inevitable as we hurtle headlong into the singularity, but it is far from it. In order to fight this future, we must be able to understand it. This is a game about language and how it dies. So, I have like a cheat sheet posted in the Google Doc, so I just want us to take a few minutes and look at that. It has the structure of the game first when we do like character creation and like creation of the community. That's the Dialect handout, and I just want you two to look at that and to get a sense of the flow of the game. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that, and then if you have any questions, we can go over them. Does that sound good? So that, yeah, that's the one that says quick reference at the top of the sheet, and it's all in like red text.
So where the backdrop, where do we get?
So that is also in the Google folder. That's the Solar Slums is
Yes.
what we're playing.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the document that says that is titled Solar Slums, and it starts with 2081 Solar Slums.
Yep, got it.
So we can skip. We're gonna skip that step since I picked it beforehand.
Yep. And archetype cards, are they in the Roll20?
Yes, all the cards we need are in the Roll20.
Yep. So do you deal them to us, or we just?
I deal them to you. There's a deal like a feature in the Roll20.
Yep. This game looks awesome.
Do you need a few more minutes, or do you think you understand what's going on?
I'm good to go.
Yeah, I think I'm good to go.
Okay. Any questions?
I guess what's the first thing? So I guess the back.
Well, no, you froze again.
I did. Oh no.
Yeah. So I have picked the backdrop for us before we started, so we're gonna skip that part. So the first thing we are gonna do is like define the aspects and community questions, and name the isolation. So in this game, we're going to follow an isolated community through its beginning, rise, and end. We'll tell their story by building their language. New words will come from the fundamental aspects of the community, who they are, what they believe in, and how they respond to a changing world. And together, we'll decide what they become. And also, so this game is kind of divided in a couple distinct sections. First, we're going to do the community creation, then we'll do character creation, and then we'll do age 1, 2, 3, and the legacy. So I'm planning for us to take a break after age 1. And if you need to like take a bio break, just let us know and just step out. Before we start, so for the lines and veils, we just have a veil for sexual assault, and that's the only one right now. Is everybody okay with what we have so far? Does anyone want to add anything?
I think I'm good.
Okay. And remember, we have the X card, so feel free to use that at any time. So now we move on to community creation. First, I want us to take a look at the backdrop and kind of just go around and read through that first introductory paragraph that's in italics. And just each of us can read a sentence so we all get an idea of where we are. So I'll start. So this is 2081 Solar Slums. When the weather in the US became too harsh to live outside, corporations built high-tech biodromes so people could survive. Elle, I'll go to you.
Anyone willing or anyone unwilling or unable to work for them and live by their laws was stuck in urban slums full of pollutants, fake food, solar burn, and gangs.
Okay. It's here where we live, a group of rebels who refuse to cave to the cultural suicide that is corporate life.
Among the people who are just trying to survive in this consumerist dictatorship is a resistance of component cyborgs and hackers who oppose corporate life.
Here in the neon city streets, you gotta talk fast to make friends, and you need to prove your cred to be trusted.
Great. That's the end. So, okay. So now we're going to generate the aspects, and these are basically what will define our community, and we're going to use these to kind of base our words on. And so something to keep in mind while we're doing the aspects is to make them big. I mean, not too big, but we want it to be broad enough where we can fit a lot of different things under them and not be super narrow. And we also want them to be clear, so there's no confusion about what they mean. And also, we want them to have a bite, so that it's a little bit provocative and thought-provoking. So our aspect generation questions are the artificial shade, the slum savvy, and the free aspect. So first we're going to do artificial shade, and that is how have we survived in the harsh UV heat and sun poisoning that affect the city streets? And we'll just talk about that as a group.
I'm getting ideas of having corrugated iron and sheets of metal and scrap just interlacing and creating this whole roof above the streets.
So
oh no, you froze again. Oh, Erica.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're back.
If it helps, you can turn down the bandwidth usage on live Hangouts. That might help.
Okay, if I can.
That's the little.
Sorry, FaceTime HD camera, internal microphone.
So there's a little icon of bars. I'm not sure what it looks like on that app, but on
yes,
desktop there's a couple of bars.
There you go.
Reception, yeah.
Okay, so I'm swapping it down to medium, and see how that goes. And if it's still an issue, I will kind of push it down further. But yes, so.
Oh no, we froze again.
We're kind of.
Oh, it's still an issue.
Okay, so now it's at low.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
I think you're not frozen. Yay. All right. Now talk.
Okay, so we're inside this chain link cave.
Maybe. Have you got any other ideas about how we would create artificial shade?
Oh, I mean, we could also just sort of all be carrying these fancy umbrellas, and they just sort of become part of our culture. No, and I mean, obviously, instead, like, I mean, sort of the outside would become very bleached, so that might kind of like affect it. So you'd actually have kind of like everyone's just carrying these white parasols, and possibly the bottom is painted inside kind of interesting ways.
I think that's really interesting, yeah.
And maybe we could like sort of take my idea as well and say like for the like people with no money, it's pieces of corrugated iron on a stick.
Yes. Yeah. So for the aspect, I'm just kind of thinking we can just write like a parasol, and then because we kind of have like want to have like one snappy word that's, you know, or one or two snappy words that sums it up. So I'll just put parasol, and you know, for the people with a little more money, they can have like higher quality, and then people with less money can have metal on a stick. That's really cool. So the next aspect is slum savvy, with only each other to rely on, and corporations oppressively controlling access to needed goods. What questionable activities must we do to survive?
Oh, cockroach farming?
That's funny.
Cockroach milking.
Cockroach racing.
Cockroaches are clearly involved. Actually, I mean, like, I actually know mealworms are supposed to be better, particularly because, yeah, like you can just have them inside the dirt. Though you still need a regular supply of organic matter.
Yeah,
yeah, I do. Well, there's humans. They make a lot of waste. I like the idea of cockroaches somehow as well, because there's, you know, apparently they'll be the only creatures to survive nuclear. Like, and yeah, maybe like it's more like we are using insects and bugs more than like stock animals. Maybe like stock animals are like an absolute luxury because they can't survive out in the fields. Like,
yeah.
maybe the like standard cow has you know, gone the way of the dodo.
Yeah, we could do something, we could call it something like bug ranching.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you can have mealworm farms and like cockroach farms.
Yeah.
But like the ranches are probably just like a dodgy apartment room.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Possibly we have kind of like hacked the garbage chute of some of the corporate sort of like.
Oh, you're frozen again.
Air.
Okay, I think you.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
Yes, kind of like another thing we might have done is we might have kind of like an illegal cut, like a legal kind of like diversion off some of the organic kind of like recycling chutes of the corporate.
Oh.
So that we're actually diverting some of it if we're continuing to look at it beyond bug ranching.
Yeah, like that could totally be a way of like finding nice foods, because you know the
garbage stealing. You're stealing your garbage.
Yeah, you're like, hey, here's a perfectly good half-eaten brown banana. Like, why not? Maybe the waste is diverted and sorted and then like resold as delicious fresh food.
Well, we still do have one free aspect, so that could possibly be it, or do you have any other ideas?
So, like, Slum Savvy would be like the bug ranching.
That's what I have down for it right now.
Yep. Yep, cool. I do like the idea of like interacting with the corporate echelons. So yeah, maybe it's core pack where we, you know, maybe it's not just like the organic waste, but like we just like get into all their waste to like find usable products or items that we can turn into something usable.
Erica, what do you think of that?
I think it's fine.
Yeah, so like corporate waste.
I mean, kind of like, I mean, part of me is thinking street rat, so corporate
rat.
The same way that cockroaches kind of infest houses, we have infested kind of the corporate just sort of you know, sort of infrastructure.
Yes.
And possibly viewed in such a light.
I love that. And maybe like we should like call those kind of people like corporates.
We'll save that thought for when we do word creation.
I thought we were doing okay. Yep. Hi.
So
sorry, I just thought we were going to throw new words in everywhere.
I mean, we can also totally do that now if you want. So like corporates. I think it also might be interesting to throw that down in the first age. I will just go ahead and put corporate rats for the third aspect. Just because if we have it down on the regular tableau, it's much easier to change, like evolve the words as it changes. Because that word might totally like change in meaning as time goes by. So I have, for aspect number 1, I have parasol, then we have bug ranching, and then corporate rats.
Corporates.
So now we're going to answer community questions. And we have, so we're not, since we only have 3 people, we're not going to answer all of these, but we'll do what we do. So that's, once again, that's on the scenario sheet. And so we can start with L with the first one.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yep. With a monopoly on real foods, the corporations have left us to fend for ourselves. Hence the core pack. What synthetic foods sustain us? Soylent Green.
I mean, it sounds like it's the corporate food. We're just kind of like harvesting at the waste.
Yeah, I think with this question, this is definitely like the official corporate food that they're giving us.
Yeah. So maybe like the corporate waste is something that we use to supplement the diet to make it interesting. Maybe there's just one food product that,
I mean, and the
like
other thing, even if you're eating bugs, you still have to feed the bugs.
That's true. Yeah. That's definitely something we could play with in the word creation. Like, are we using like our Soylent Green to feed bugs instead of ourselves and then eating the bugs or what they produce?
Yeah. maybe like there is this one, protein energy bar that is the only food source that the corporates make available to us, but we take that and we feed it to our bugs and create new food sources that way.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So, Erica, why don't we go to you for question number 2?
Okay. Many abandoned skyscrapers, row houses, and
Oh no, you froze again.
alleyways. Did I freeze again?
Now you're unfrozen.
Okay. So yes, we have an abandoned city kind of in front of us. How are we fortifying it against corporate influence?
And feel free to interpret this however you want. I don't think it necessarily has to be a physical fortification either.
Well, it sounds like we're using like subterfuge, like we're hacking their waste. We're taking the food that they're giving us to use it for different purposes.
I mean, if I had to think of an interesting way to do it, that it's possible corporations are still advertising at us, because sort of like that part's easy, and then it's just a matter of there's just a very big culture of basically vandalism and incorporating kind of like adding to kind of like ads.
Yes,
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of like that is just considered kind of a form of art inside our culture.
That's funny. There's some, I don't know, like what kind of people you would give them a label, but there's a small group of those like kind of people in my city where they have these big black textures and they graffiti things like car dealership windows and like sell off and capitalism stinks and like those kinds of things.
Done with kind of like artistic focus.
Yeah.
Michelangelo's of street graffiti.
Yeah. And cleverly adding letters and words to change the meaning of the slogans or whatever that are around us.
So yes, that is a way of fortifying against corporate influence.
So, for this question is, there are 3 gangs among us, some more friendly than others. Which gang is friendly and what fashion trend sets them apart? How is their activity distinguished from the other 2? So I think a really interesting thing in terms of fashion is those parasols that we kind of did for the aspect, because that's like something that everybody has, so it's a very obvious marker. I kind of like the idea of the friendly gang. Do you know what like Lolita fashion is, like the Japanese street fashion? So let me find a picture. It's like very
gothy and lacy.
Well, that's goth Lolita. So regular Lolita is it's very like cutesy, like lacy, girly, lots of like pink and white. The term kind of coming from the book Lolita, but
a little bit disturbing.
So yeah, here, like I'll share the Wikipedia article. If you scroll down to the gallery, it has a bunch of pictures, and there's a bunch of variations on Lolita, like goth Lolita, and lots of different ones. But I kind of like the idea of one gang being very like fashion in like kind of the traditional sense, with their parasols and being like very like frilly and lacy, especially since those materials are probably very like rare. Like they've probably got like their own silkworms that have created those parasols.
Well, there's probably some like high tensile, reflective substance woven through that lace, so they are able to have like this, pretty parasol, but it actually be effective with the UV and heat reflection.
Yes. That's a good name for them. I mean, maybe even something simple like the Silkies. Which kind of sounds like Selkies, which is also an interesting play on words.
I mean, kind of like the pun that comes to mind is Solitas. Solar Lord.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Yes.
Do you guys have any ideas for, like, it mentions like 2 other gangs? And in terms of the Solitas, I think they're much more focused on like fashion and like maybe textile creation.
Yeah. Maybe they're where like the high-end fashion comes from.
Yeah.
What about like a gang that like organizes the waste hacking?
Yes.
Maybe we can call them the wasters.
It's simple yet effective. Have you ever heard of like freeganism? Where people
people dumpster
like
diving.
Yeah, basically dumpster diving for all your food. That's what this is really reminding me of. And for the third gang, maybe we can have a group that's like very radical, maybe much more like the very anti like corporate, because like with the waste hackers, I think that's anti-corporate, but it's very much like practical survival type things. But maybe there's
money-making endeavor as well.
Sorry, what did you say, Erica?
The artists that yes, I mean we have an artistic culture that is specifically built on subverting kind of corporate kind of iconography and kind of propaganda. So yes, if I were to imagine kind of like incorporate that into a very radical group, it would be the artists.
Yes.
Any ideas for a name?
Oh, okay. So work with me on this one. So spray cans rattle when you shake them. Maybe we call them the rattlers, and also like they rattle the cage.
I like that.
Yeah.
And something that we can keep in mind with character creation is if a specific character, because I'm kind of imagining these as like 3 subgroups, because we have the isolation, maybe these are 3 subgroups within kind of this isolated group, and if a certain character identifies like with a certain subgroup. So well, the last thing we have is to name the isolation. An idea that just sprung into my head, kind of playing off the word parasol plus irony, is like paradise. Because obviously it's quite the opposite, but
the paradise.
Yeah. If only it was spelled differently in parasol, but
and maybe that's like where some of the city population comes from as well, like from these outlying towns where they've been cut off and they hear about this city called Paradise and they're like, yes, let's get to Paradise, and when they get there it's like, fuck.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. All right. So I will start dealing cards for character creation.
Okay.
So we each get 3 aspect cards. I mean, 3 archetype cards. So you can you'll choose one. You'll choose one to create a character on. And just a note, so there's 3 ages in the game, and when we transition between the different ages, we get to choose how much time has passed. Sometimes it's like, you know, a few weeks. I've played games where it's been a few decades. Obviously, if there's a longer time that has passed, sometimes characters die. And I've played games where, because we've chosen to have a few decades pass, like a character who is 70 in age 1 has died. And so that player would then create another character. I've also played games where, because of an action, a player chooses to take their character either died or was put in prison and could no longer like be an active player. So in those kind of situations, we would also have you create a new character. And character creation is pretty easy. So don't worry. There's also totally like a possibility of you playing the same character throughout the entire game. So it's really kind of depends on, you know, how we want to play the game. And so can take a few minutes to look at the cards you have, kind of pick which archetype you want to be, and then in terms of character creation, it's pretty simple. It's not as like in-depth as some other games, so it's really a lot of like what you want to do with the character. So obviously there's the archetype, and at the bottom of the card you see that there's an emphasis on how your character connects to the aspects, and that's kind of explained on the card that you'll choose. There's also naming the character, and there's 2 aspects to a name. That's like the given name, and then there's also like what people call you, either everybody or some people, and that's essentially like a nickname or like a chosen name. Like, you know, for example, maybe in the Rattlers, you might have like more of like an artist name or like a nom de guerre. And then there's like the role in the isolation that kind of relates to the archetype and like what you're doing. And you want to make that something significant, since we are playing these characters in the game. And then obviously their relationships to the aspect. So let me check and make sure there should be some character sheets. And
I guess also, sorry,
No.
I'm seeing kind of archetype draw. Should I draw that now?
So I gave you cards. So if you look on Roll20 above your little avatar, you should see like a little icon with 3.
Okay.
Over. Do you see it? There should be little cards right above your avatar.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I see what you're talking about.
So those are the archetypes you have to choose from.
I can't see player sheets.
So you see the little icons on the right side of the screen. So there should be one that kind of looks like a little newspaper. If you click on that, that's where all the play aids are. There should be a little section that's labeled character sheets. If you click the plus sign, it should bring up some like little blank documents for you to just like write a little bit of information in there.
I can only see player aids. Player aids, example word, construction, building words, flow of play.
Okay, I think I will go in and this is an old version, I think. I'm just going through and clicking show to everyone to make sure that you guys can see it.
Thank you.
I did this in a different version of this, and it must not have showed up in this one. Can you see it now?
Mm. Can we have a break in a few minutes? I just need to eat a banana.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Why don't we take the next, like, it's on the hour right now, so why don't we take the next like 7 minutes to like have a little break and also work on characters.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Eric, are you there?
Yeah. Sorry, one moment. Yes.
How are you guys doing on character creation?
I figured out how to edit.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, just let me know when you think you're good.
Shoot, I'm trying to remember the names of our three groups. I know that there was the Solitas.
The Rattlers is the radical artist group, and then the Wasters are the waste hacking group.
Okay, so I have sort of like a small description up on my card.
That's great.
Oh, how'd you get the card inside there?
I saved it as an image and then uploaded it.
Mm. Al, how are you doing with the character creation?
Okay. My archetype card says that I identify with all of the aspects. One of them means more than you realize. Shall I name that thing?
Sure.
Oh, yes. So we're gonna go around and do like introductions for all of the characters. So we can do that then.
Cool.
Yeah, and don't forget to give them a name. Erica, what are you painting?
Oh, a little person inside a wheelchair.
Oh, cool.
You want an example of? Oh, I actually have a cool thing. If you want an example of something good I painted a little while ago. There you go.
Oh, cool.
I don't know how well it's going to come across inside the low resolution, but
I can see that it's a person with a sword.
Oh, this, I don't like how this guy is painted, but it would probably come across better inside low resolution.
Oh, cool.
Trust me, the guy with the sword is much cooler, but yeah, I don't think he'd come across well. Ooh, I also have this.
Oh, yeah, that's much bigger.
Though I haven't worked on this guy like as much as I should because he is not done. But there's so much of him. But yes, I got the Mini with a wheelchair just because I'd never seen a Mini like with a wheelchair, and that is actually kind of an archetype that should exist.
Yes. I have a friend who I think mainly well, right now she's playing Starfinder, and I think she would very much appreciate having a Mini who is also in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Mini inside a wheelchair who has a computer in front of him, but I mean, kind of like a computer and like a headphone, so it's clearly inside kind of like an Oracle type position.
The digital Oracle.
But I mean, like you could reflavor that as a diviner.
Yeah.
Just sort of like.
Elle, you look a little perplexed.
That's just my resting perplexed face. No, I'm having fun.
Okay, good. Just let us know when you're ready.
I'm pretty well ready now.
Okay. So we'll do introduction. So Elle, why don't you go first since you're ready?
Yeah. All right. So Cruz Viewer, he is an elderly man. He remembers times when everyone got along, and he doesn't like the disunity in the city. He, has a market stall, and he sells everything, anything from parasols, cockroach falafel, pre-loved breads, and paints. So it's probably in his business, like, best interest to remain friendly with everyone. But part of his architect type card is that he identifies with all of the aspects, but one of them means more than I realize, and I'm kind of leaning towards the corporate rats being more important than others as part of like the fucking with the system flavor.
So I'll go next. So my character is Vanessa, and she is the Oracle. And so that's, what's coming for us, and we believe you. At least most of us do. People talk to you about predictions. So and her thing is like divination through butterflies. So like the life cycle of the butterfly, like the caterpillar, then being in the cocoon, then bursting out and becoming a butterfly, and different butterflies and butterfly migration. And I think really like watching a caterpillar wrap itself in a cocoon and then become a butterfly is where she like sees the future. And so I named her Vanessa because that is like the genus name of a bunch of butterflies. And people who think she is like a quack call her the Loch Ness Monster.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of see her as someone who's like early mid-30s, and I identify with parasols and bug ranching, but think corporate rats will be our ruin. So also like don't like the people who are like trying to like go into the corporate infrastructure and actually be a part of the system. So Erica, why don't you go?
Okay, so my character is Glosh, archetype Scrounger. So yes, they're a waster digging through corporate garbage and abandoned treasure. I identify with two aspects: corporate rats. Glosh has been digging and rerouting garbage and sewage to keep people fed, hence the name. And parasol. Glosh scrounges for room. I'm also supposed to declare a scarcity related to one of the aspects, and I chose parasol. The demand for beauty is difficult to satisfy. That we basically, like, clearly this is a culture that cares deeply about beauty, because we have one group, the Solitas, which is just sort of about kind of like pretty fabrics and appearance and all that. Then we have another one, kind of the Rattlers, which is also devoted to beauty. So kind of like, it feels a little weird to be inside kind of like our little apocalyptic culture, but clearly we care about pretty things.
Well, obviously, when there's life isn't pretty, like you make it pretty with what you got.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll go ahead and start age 1. So let me find the part.
Oh, I imagine, I guess because I didn't define an age, I imagine Galosh is quite young enough to not really know, like basically kind of discount tales of the before times.
Which I imagine, Elle, how do we say your character's name?
I reckon we can just call him Cruz for short.
Okay.
Cruz is appalled by Glosh's like lack of respect for where she's come from.
Yeah, he remembers everything.
Oh yeah.
So I've dealt everybody 3 age 1 cards, and like it says on the sheet, so each player takes one turn during an age. So since we only have 3 people, it will, hopefully the game play will be faster than if you had 4 or 5 people. So the kind of the meat of the turn is creating a new word, and so you're kind of connecting your card to an aspect and then building a word based on that. And of course, we can communally input on what the word should be, but the final decision does go to the person whose turn it is. And then we have a little conversation based on that word, and the person whose turn it is gets to decide which characters are in that conversation. You can choose to have the character you play in it or not. I can play various NPCs if you want an NPC in it. Obviously, if I have to play Vanessa, somebody else might have to play an NPC, since we do have a lower number of players. At any time, you can introduce a variant, which is an existing word that's been put on the table. If you come up with like a variant of that, like a word that's related to it, or like a shortening of the word or something, you can discard 1 card from your hand to do that at any time. And then there's also cards that are action cards that kind of have different instructions from a normal turn, which will be explained on the cards. Those get more frequent as we get into age 2 and age 3. Does anybody want to go first? Anybody have any questions or confused about anything? Okay, I'll just pick. So Erica, you can go first.
Okay, so I don't know how to play it, but I want to play my special occasion card, if I'm understanding kind of the sequence of events correctly. So special occasion, a celebrated event. It's either particular to the isolation or we. So I imagine kind of like, I mean, I don't know if this counts as sort of a word, but I'd sort of like to imagine parasols being described as having a bloom and a stem. Kind of like the bloom being the umbrella part, stem being kind of the handle. So no, kind of the special occasion would kind of be the parade of flowers, where just sort of like, yes, sort of the leaders sort of come and, you know, just sort of like show off, you know, kind of like who has the most fantastic parasol.
I
I
really like that.
Status. Yes.
So
like, I mean, does that count as language?
Oh yeah, like parade of flowers. That would definitely. And in terms of like the bloom and stem, if you want to, you can discard 2 cards to make those variants official. Or
sure, I do that.
So
I don't know what mechanically that looks like.
Okay, so if you look at the Roll20, I'm going to go on one. So parade. Oh no, that's the really big font. So I'm going to go parade of flowers. And usually when you play this game, you would write the definition on the card, but because it's a little bit difficult to do that on the Roll20, we're just going to remember what they mean.
Yes.
And I can add the variants if I can get this to. So I'm just going to drag some of these extra note cards next to Parade of Flowers and write Bloom and Stem. And we'll just remember what those mean. Oh, coincidentally, since we're talking about plants, it's the first day of fall.
Oh.
Well, not for the southern hemisphere, but for the northern hemisphere.
Yes.
Yeah. No, we're you know, a couple of weeks into spring here now.
So, can you two see the words I've put up on the Roll20? See them? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, Erica, for you, how does this work? I guess you can drag the cards onto like the tableau and just like delete them from there, so to show that you've discarded the cards. If you can get that to work.
That is the one I played. And then
I'll just put that right next to Parade of Flowers.
Okay, so then I'm going to attempt to discard them. If I do this wrong, they may end up, no, they just pop back.
So yeah, drag it onto the tableau like you did for a special occasion, and then just select them and press delete. It should work.
I can flip them. That's kind of like deleting them.
So here.
And when I click on them, I can see take card, flip card. I do not see delete card.
Oh, if you press delete on your keyboard, it should work. I just deleted them. Yeah, so that should work. Oh, sorry, my power cord has fallen down. Okay, so now you have no cards in your hand, but I will go ahead and deal you an age 2 card. If you feel compelled to do another variant, you can use that.
No. Like, I mean, I feel I have.
Oh, I mean it like it's later on in the game before you do get another card, but then once you run out of cards, you can't do anymore. But okay, there's your age 2 card, and so Elle, you can go next.
Cool. So,
oh wait, sorry. We have to do the conversation with the parade of flowers. Sorry. Got too caught up in the mechanics. So, Erica, you get to choose which characters are in the conversation.
So, I mean, kind of like so far is I'm kind of like go with the new, and you're kind of like keep the old. So, I mean, what I imagine kind of the conflict we might have set up is that, yes, Glosh has just sort of like come up with an umbrella, and she has destroyed something precious. Can you tell me what it is?
Yeah.
Sort of like
sorry, you're all breaking up.
Okay. So basically at the parade, where everyone is showing off their kind of, fantastic umbrellas, Glosh has decorated her with with sort of like the destroyed remains of something precious. What's something that Cruzfier would have found precious and would be upset at its destruction?
Ooh, a cassette player. So, actually, maybe an actual cassette. So, like the tape from a cassette. She's probably like interwoven that.
No, probably quite a few cassettes if I'm kind of like making a proper umbrella out of it.
Oh my god!
Like I've destroyed quite the library, and there's probably kind of he's kind of like dangling from the edges and catching the light. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, so go ahead and like play out that confrontation, and remember to use the word parade of flowers in the conversation.
Yeah. So where do you want to do this?
Well, no, I mean, I imagine it's kind of like, yes, I mean, people are walking down the street, like, and I'm actually showing it off, and like you're trying to convince people like that this should be the new fashion. It's sort of like, kind of like we should just, again, we have all this kind of like just garbage, just kind of like standing there, and we could be turning it into something beautiful and new, because I mean, just sort of like other people treat it like it's precious, but I mean, it's not like we can play them.
So Cruzfier is wearing like a box type thing with a strap around his neck, kind of like a peanut merchandise seller that you'd see at events. And he's got like his tub of mealworms, frozen micicles, and commemorative parade of flower little flags, and he's get your bicycles. Here's your one and only chance to get your bicycles and your parade of flower flags. Come show off your beautiful parasols with us today. And as he's like walking through the crowd alongside the parade, he stops and sees Glosh. And he's like, Kid!
Yeah?
Where did you get that from? Where did you get all those tapes from?
Oh, like, it's that really dusty building. Like, I think you called it a library once. Yeah, no, because like, no, and there's all these kind of like shiny things, and like, I mean, kind of, isn't this cool and lacy?
No.
Sort of like,
Oh, not Johnny Cash. You have no idea what you've done, do you?
made an awesome parasol.
You've even pulled out all the tape.
Yeah.
The tape's meant to be inside that piece of plastic.
Well, no, I mean you can't really do much with the plastic, so I just kind of left that bit. But this is pretty cool.
No, no, it's not.
Like, I mean, everyone just.
Oh, freezy face.
Like,
what was that last bit you said?
no, and there's like a whole building full of this stuff. So, like, I mean, we could all have like parasols like this.
No, that is part of our history. I remember when I was a child, I used to hear the magical sounds that would come out of cars. That cars, the big metal things with wheels that humans used to drive around before we spent all the fuel. Yeah, those things. They had these little things in the middle of the front of the car, and you'd put the cassette in and it would play music. It was almost magical. Like, there's nothing that we have now that compares. And you just tore it to shreds.
Well, no, I mean, this is like that whole kind of like story about kind of like little people inside that box. Kind of like, I think you called it a TV. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think we could cut it there. Yeah, that was great. Elle, do you want to go next?
Oh yeah, sure. Greeting. How we greet one another. Small rituals to open a conversation that reflect who we are. It may be different based on who we say it to or when we say it. And then it says meeting in an unexpected place. So when you run into someone in an unexpected place, you're like, ah, gosh, you're alive. And so you're alive is kind of like the big, like, hello, so good to see you. And then just like the regular, oh, hey, that's like, living? Yeah, living. Like,
what aspect do you want to connect that to?
Bless you. I think maybe maybe the bug ranchers, like they probably started it off.
Sure, we can go with that. We'll go ahead and put that up. Just remember, when you do create a word, we have to connect the aspect to the card.
Connect. Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
I put you're alive / living for both of them.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool.
And so, which characters do you want have to meet in an unexpected place?
Maybe it's Vanessa and Blush.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Vanessa's not that surprised because she is an oracle. But maybe it's like after the parade of flowers, and maybe Glosh is packing up from her fancy stroll and Vanessa runs into her.
Yeah, maybe maybe it could be something like by the corporate office or something where Glosh wouldn't normally hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so go ahead and do that. So I think Glosh, maybe you're like using the bathroom at the corporate office to change or something, and
well, no, I mean, if you want me to set the scene, kind of like kind of like Gloss was showing it up. I just imagine kind of like there was some people like some kind of kids from the corporate that were slumming.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like Gloss sort of like got up inside that group and potentially sort of like kind of again like some people slumming and they kind of like talk Glosh into just sort of like going to just a part of town she doesn't normally go to because she is a slum rat.
Yeah. So you're with this group of people, and I'm kind of even within the isolation, I'm kind of a strange person. I think I have a parasol shaped like a butterfly, and I wear butterfly themed outfits, and it's probably a little embarrassing to be seen with me, so I kind of just like walk up to you. You're like, oh gosh, you're alive.
Oh, Vanessa, you're alive too. It is. Yeah, cool seeing you here. Anyways, I'm gonna head off.
What do you mean? When are you coming? When are you coming home for dinner?
I'll be home when I'm home. Like, I mean, kind of like, I mean, there's no rush. I mean, it's almost night. And like, I mean, that is the best time to go scrounging.
But you scrounge all day.
Yeah, but like, I took today off to go to the Parade of Flowers, and now I need to make up for it. So yeah.
Who are these people? I haven't seen them around before.
I mean, they're cool. They're shaded. Anyways, so I'm just gonna go off and like I'll be back kind of like before dawn.
But Gloshy, it's not.
It's all shade. It's all shade.
Okay, I think we can cut it off now.
Yeah, that was awesome. It's so shade.
Trying to get away from your weird aunt.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like, is Vanessa Glosh's mom, or is she your aunt?
I mean, I think she's just like, one of those people in the community who's like everybody's aunt.
No. I mean, kind of like, I think it's cooler if Glosh and Vanessa actually are related.
I think maybe more of an aunt.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess it's my turn. Let's see which cards I have. Oh, this is a good one. So I have Term of Endearment, an affectionate name to call someone. Using this word is deeply meaningful, and we remember the first time we say it. So a tender moment shared in secret. So what's a good... I want to use bug ranting, so I want to use... Oh, maybe like caterpillar.
Okay.
I like that. So I actually want to, I kind of want to continue maybe like the next day kind of from that scene with Glosh and Vanessa, kind of Vanessa trying to be very like affectionate and motherly towards Glosh, and Glosh kind of like pushing her away a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, kind of like Gloss is just kind of like just like trying to kind of sneak in, just sort of like it's a little bit after dawn, which kind of like isn't great, particularly because Gloss did not have her parasol with her. Because no, I mean like she had to pack that up, and like it kind of like she's gonna have to spend like today just like fixing it.
Yeah.
But I mean it looked amazing. It was totally worth it.
Yes.
Gloss is only a little bit sick.
So, okay. So you're sneaking in, and of course Vanessa is like sitting at the table watching her like a box of like cocoons, in the dark, and so, oh Glossy, you're back.
Oh, hi Vanessa. See, I told you I'd be back. Anyways, I am like super tired, so I'm gonna go up to my bed.
But it's past dawn. Let me see your skin. Oh, it's definitely burned.
It's fine.
How many times have I told you not to expose yourself to the UV rays?
It was just a little bit, and like I'm fine. I mean, kind of like again, a little bit of sun is supposed to be good for you. Like that's what I mean. Christopher said that was once a thing.
Cruz lived in a time before there were enormous holes in the ozone layer. He is getting forgetful in his old age, Caterpillar. Come sit next to me, watch the cocoons hatch.
Oh my god. Kind of like you are so not shaded.
There are tumultuous times coming. I can see it in the flakes of cocoon.
Sure. No. Those are some flakes of cocoon.
Look, Gloss, I know I'm not shaded as young folks say these days, but these are like something's coming, and you're gonna have to, and you need to be prepared. Those people you've been hanging out with, they're not like us, and they when it hatches, they won't be on your side. Let's cut it there.
Yeah.
With that ominous note. So we're at the end of age 1. So we have a few things to do. So first we are going to pick which kind of transition prompts we're going to go for. So that's on at the bottom. That's on the second page of the scenario sheet. So there's the black column on the left side and the red column on the right side. So right now at the end of age 1, we're going to choose one, and then we'll follow the one we choose throughout the rest of the game. So the black one is as follows. Digital advertisements start hacking their way into people's neural interfaces, telling of the beautiful life lived in the lush corporate biospheres, with entry-level packages being offered for simple labor. How do the different people of the solar slums react to this? So that's the first option. Then the second option is the red column. We're beginning to see new packaged food come into the slums, supplied to the gangs by an unknown source and sold at super cheap prices. With the new food comes new faces too. Can we trust it and its supplier? So which of those paths is more interesting to you guys?
I mean, given the theme of kind of like.
You froze up a little bit again.
I do that. Apparently that is the thing. Also, apparently I am starting to take on aspects of blush because I do that. Sorry. So yeah, kind of like the digital advertisements kind of promising kind of like beauty sort of fits inside some of the themes, though. I mean, probably haven't really developed kind of like the bug farming, which also could be cool. I am not sure. I can argue either way.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking too. But maybe it would be more interesting if there's a new food source, because that would interfere with both the bug ranching and the corporate hacking of their waste for food. So maybe it's something that the corporate companies have come up with to sort of battle. Maybe they're not making enough sales with their regular, Soylent Green energy bar. Maybe they realize that the population is getting bored with that and need something new, and maybe that's going to disrupt the other aspects.
The other conflict that is kind of like in there is the whole fact that yeah, we're totally stealing their food. Just because they're not monitoring their waste supply well doesn't mean they don't actually need it, and kind of like wouldn't kind of be applying at some point. So yeah, kind of like given how that passing to lead to a Trojan horse type kind of like situation. Yeah, like I mean that could be justification, is that they're just annoyed at these people who keep stealing their stuff.
Totally.
So we'll go with that path, and so now we have to evolve one of the aspects, and kind of thinking on what's been happening. Which aspect do you want to evolve?
So can you talk about what that means, like what an evolution of an aspect?
So we pick one aspect and we change it a little bit, kind of with the way like events are going, because the characteristics of the community are always going to change, right, as time passes. So we pick one of the aspects that we think has changed, and we evolve it and tweak it based on what's happening.
Yeah, maybe it would make sense for either the bug ranching or corporate rats.
I mean, kind of like.
Oh no.
I mean, like being a lot more militant at cutting off supplies of just sort of like waste streams and garbage streams.
Oh yeah.
And actually keeping an eye on those. So kind of like the corporate rats could be just sort of like changed to like starving rats.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I really like that. Yeah. So if everyone's okay with that, we can change it to starving rats.
Yeah, that's great. Go for it.
So I will move that into the next part of the circle. Oops. And then while I'm doing that, so the last thing is if you want to discard and redraw for the next age, you can totally do that and get a new age 2 card.
No, I'm good.
Erica, what about you?
Like I only have the.
Yeah, so you can, if you can keep that, you can keep that one card, or if you don't like it for whatever reason, you can always discard it and get a new one.
I think I'm good with it.
Okay, so I am going to just discard one card and get a new card. And then the last thing that I want to do is kind of define how much time has passed between age 1 and age 2. So, like I said, this can be a few days, a few weeks, a few months, years, decades, and it can all, just remember that it can be really interesting to have maybe a little bit more time pass than maybe than just like a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of catching some of the like aftermath. So maybe like a year or two after.
Okay.
What do you reckon, guys?
I like that.
A year or two for kind of as the crisis have developed.
Yeah, so as the full impact of closing off that free food source, and yeah, so like seeing how like starving rats are responding and seeing how our characters are responding to the changes.
So is Cruz still alive? Because he is the oldest character.
Yeah, I think he's really unwell.
Okay. Like very sick.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's on the hour. So why don't we go ahead and take a 5-minute break?
Okay.
And then come back at the 05 for H2.
Sure.
Welcome back. Is everybody ready for H2? So I think we'll go in reverse order this time in terms of turns. So I'll go first, and I'm not like 100% sure about how to pronounce this word, but I'll try. So it's the sobriquet. Anyway, it's a nickname that all but replaces someone's name. So make a connection, pick a player character, explain why their role in the isolation has earned them a new nickname. And so I'm thinking that I want to use Starving Rats with Glosh, because I'm thinking that Glosh has become someone who like goes to the extreme to like steal the waste from corporate now that they've cut it off. So I'm kind of thinking that this nickname is something like Daredevil. Do you guys have any like better ideas for this?
I mean, possibly kind of like competent Daredevil, or just sort of like Daredevil providing kind of like some value. That Daredevil normally carries the connotation of, again, like, you know, just sort of like doing something very risky for very little benefit.
I'm thinking that like part of it is just to like prove a point, and that it's not like super valuable work. Okay. And that it's kind of, you know, to like stick it to the man, you know?
Okay. So yes, because
I like
Daredevil,
that.
yeah, it doesn't necessarily have kind of a stick it to the man type sort of like vibe. It's more kind of like stupid rich kid being a daredevil.
It's like trying to be like a thorn in the side of corporate, you know? I am going to look at different kinds of cockroaches to see if anything is appealing, because, you know, cockroaches are seen as like kind of like pests, and it'd be thorny. This Dialect is made by Thorny Games, so that's a very apt name. Let's see. It's all like German cockroach, American cockroach, Australian cockroach.
I just googled cockroach food recipes. Roach stir fry, 7 to 10 American cockroaches, or 5 hissing cockroaches. 1 onion, 1 green pepper, 5 cups of rice.
Okay, Cruz definitely needs to be serving this cockroach stir fry.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Oh, there's so many great images. That's. I found my cockroach kebabs. Oh my god. I'm gonna send this to you in a link because it is amazing.
I mean, kind of like, chances are we're either going to be eating insects or lab-grown meat, you know, kind of at some point inside our lives.
Yeah. And insects will be heaps cheaper. Insects will be heaps cheaper. So that first link is a picture of me and my birds. And the second link is of cockroach kebabs. Oh my god. Cockroaches on a stick. Oh my god, frogs on a stick.
There, I basically have cockroaches as roommates in this tropical environment, so this is very funny. What about roach rat?
Sure, roach rat.
So Glosh is basically called the roach rat everywhere now, except maybe Vanessa doesn't call her that because she's a family member. So I think, so a familiar face in a new light. So I think we should do this with Cruz because they did not have a very good relationship before. But now maybe it could either be, you can choose on whether you want it to be, maybe he likes her more, maybe he doesn't, but she's definitely become a roach. She's now it's going to be the roach rat. Not just roach rat, but the roach rat.
So maybe it's much easier for Cruz to get the corporate food for his market stall, but he has, Glosh as a cool contact.
Yeah.
And so appreciates like that, and he also is gaining a bit more like faith in her that she's returning to the old ways of ranching, that albeit like with cockroaches. He sees that as being, a positive step forward for her.
Yeah, so go ahead and play out a conversation between them and remember to use the word, so maybe to call her the roach rat.
Hey, Cruz. I got some fresh produce.
Roach rat, you're alive!
Hey.
Show me your stock. What have you got for me today?
It's not much, and I just sort of slant, just sort of like slightly squirming bag, just sort of like on your counter. But yeah, kind of like I've got a scheme. Kind of like it. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get you some more, kind of like a week or two from now.
Yeah,
anyways,
okay.
So,
no, this is really great. You've come so far. Like, how are you finding like getting your hands dirty like this? Hey, roach rat, hey.
Yeah, just sort of like no, I mean, kind of like Gloss is just sort of like giving you sort of like a forced smile, dead eye stare. You're sort of like this is clearly not where you wanted to go inside life, regardless of just sort of like everyone being very, very happy. But Glosh was just kind of like this artistic kid.
Hey, pull up a stool. I'll take this and fry up some stir fry. That'll be delicious, hey?
Yeah. Anyways, I'm just gonna be off. I gotta go back and check on the thing.
Let's cut it there.
Yeah.
Cruz,
yes, I guess I'm also going to specify for that is Glosh is not staying for kind of the social bit of eating.
Yeah, I got that.
Totally got
right. So Elle, why don't you go?
What lies outside? How we refer to the world outside of the isolation. What memories and emotions does it evoke inside us? Yeah, can Cruz have a chat with Vanessa?
Sure.
Okay, so Cruz is probably going to see Vanessa as her role as Oracle. Would that be well enough known for him to like just rock up there?
Yes. So what word do you want to make?
I would like to use the word croplands, and using the word croplands is that like it's so far removed from what life used to be like that everyone thinks that, you know, outside the cities used to be like all farmland, that everything, you know, was either cropland or forest. And so that is that has been glorified in his memory and kind of grown.
So what aspect do you want to connect that to?
Oh, I think maybe again the bug ranch, the bug ranching. So like bug ranching is the closest thing we've got to like farming.
Yeah. So is Cruz also kind of remembering the outside as very much like a rural pastoral type of thing, or does he remember it more factually?
No, I think like in his old age and his ill health that he's glorifying what life was like, even though it was probably only like partially like you know, livable.
Yeah.
I think in his head it's probably still, he's probably remembers TV images of, you know, vast agricultural lands. And so he comes to see Oracle to talk about like his health, but he's bringing her a container of this a bowl of this roach stir fry. And so I think he's thinking about bug farming and bug ranching and how that's changed and from what it was in the good old days.
Yeah, I'm kind of envisioning like the images. If you've ever heard the song like "America the Beautiful," like it has like some of the lyrics is like, you know, like the golden crops across the land, like sea to shining sea, that kind of like those like glorified images of the land.
Yeah, sure. I don't know that song, but I'm getting a feel for it.
Yes. So yeah, let's go for that. Oh, Cruz, please come in.
Ah, Vanessa, you're alive. Here, have some fresh roach stir fry.
Oh, Cruz.
That niece of yours, she does grow a fine roach.
Oh, Cruz, it's really good to see that you're alive too, in the literal sense as well. Please sit down. Yes, you know, gouache is definitely has been organizing very well.
It's so nice to see that she's picking up some of the old-fashioned habits of farming. Can you believe that?
Well, you know, sometimes when the going gets rough, when the going gets tough, the tough have to get going.
Yes, and she's conjuring these images for me. Like it's making me remember all of my childhood in the cropland. Like, you know, we used to have fields of beautiful growing food that was growing, not just cockroaches. It was amazing.
Yes.
Cockroaches in my day, though, they were a pest, would you believe?
I know. I'm not quite as old as you, but I've seen many things in the butterfly wings. Although I think the croplands may have been a little more urban than you remember.
Oh, child, you weren't there. That's okay. I understand. It's hard to believe in something you haven't seen for yourself. Now, tell me, in those caterpillar cocoons that you have there, have you seen anything of me?
Well, Cruise Flower, I have, but I don't know if you want to hear it. And let's cut there.
Yeah, okay, cool.
All right. Great. So let's go to Erica has disappeared. Oh, there she is.
No, just slouching.
All right, Erica, let's go to you.
I have, my action is narrowing. A specific instance of something we hold dear surges in importance. Take an existing word and make it more specific. Add more context, meaning, or intent behind the word. Make a connection. Pick a previously defined word. Explain how its meaning has become more specific. Skip the build a word phase. Example, starve meant to die of any cause, but now it means to die of hunger. A wager with high stakes. So I'm just dropping that down, and I think I am going to choose to modify you're alive, living. That it sounds like as a culture, kind of like what we've done so far is that while there used to be this huge art focus, now it's entirely focused on bug hunting.
Yeah, survival.
Yeah, so kind of like I'm going to modify kind of like you're alive also kind of means that to sort of, oh, you're alive. And people will often sort of say like, no, I'm not. Kind of just to mean that kind of like sort of that, you know, that they've gotten into this grind of survival. And living now kind of means that, yes, and just sort of like, and I'm finding hope and just sort of joy. And, you know, and kind of like somehow continuing to connect with kind of our artistic culture.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, and I mean, just like, I just imagine just sort of, I'm just trying to think of an interesting place to put that. Like, I mean, the scene that I probably want to have is just, yeah, Glosh just sort of like being super bitter and mean. You know, kind of like of having to just sort of like abandon this childhood and take on, you know, kind of like these adult responsibilities and just like, yeah, give up and kind of like, no, this isn't living. Kind of like it's necessary, but screw you guys about living. Yeah. So I don't know what that scene would look like. Like I possibly just sort of like, you know, Glosh coming back in, you know, kind of like, you know, kind of again, probably a little bit too close to the sunrise. You know, just sort of like having done like some, yeah, kind of like her last sort of like plot to just sort of like reroute this juncture and, you know, just sort of distract this guard so she could run in and sort of like turn kind of like the switch. So kind of it would just increase the amount a little bit. Yeah, like that just totally didn't work. She's coming in, she's coming back home, just inside a bad mood. She's slamming the door. I don't know what Vanessa's doing.
So I'm going to say that Vanessa is making a mural out of butterflies that have died. So this might also be something that like makes Glosh feel bad because Vanessa is doing art, but Glosh is, you know, running away from guards and not being actually able to do anything fun or artistic. Yeah.
So yeah. So, Glosh just kind of like stands there glaring at just sort of like the butterfly mural, simultaneously galled at just sort of like, again, you're not taking care. One, envious. Two, because kind of like, we could be eating those. What the fuck?
Vanessa turns around and says, "Oh, Gloshy, Caterpillar, you're alive."
Nah, I'm not. Anyways, again, no, this is not the time for being alive. Let's sort of like get those and put them inside the pot, because yeah, we need the protein.
These creatures have unfurled stories of the future. They belong in art, not in our bellies.
Yeah, no, I don't care. And then she's ripping down your mural.
I think we kind of get into like a little bit of a physical fight here.
Yeah.
Like, stop!
Yeah, no, like, I mean, kind of like Glosh isn't stopping. So kind of like narratively, how would you like it to end? Because I mean, kind of like right now, Glosh is just going to tear down the whole mural, and I don't know if Glosh is just sort of like more physically capable. She's definitely doing more than kind of Vanessa.
I think Vanessa kind of like, you know, this is very like, this is something that would really offend Vanessa. It's not just like, it's more than Glosh throwing a tantrum, you know? This is like Vanessa's like creed, you know? So Vanessa is kind of like, starts like yelling at her and like points at the door and is like, "Get out."
Fine. And
well, you froze. You froze.
Yes, so kind of like, and Gloss is just like, fine. You're kind of like, she's got the handful of butterflies that she's already ripped out, and she storms out into the sunlight.
There's no parasol. Oh no!
It's only so far, but yes, this is not the time for being alive. This is a time for survival, not being alive.
So this is kind of a very apt way to end the age.
Yeah.
So Erica, I will give you an age 3 card, and so first I will read the next transition. The food has brought a new illness that has targeted key members of our resistance. It creates brain zaps, erasing memory and identity, but few people know the correlation between the food and the sickness. How can we get people to stop eating the food? So we're going to evolve another aspect. And so with this development, we've kind of focused on how maybe not like a specific product, but that you know, the corporate has really cut off a lot of the waste things. So we've turned a lot to like, we're feeding a lot on bug ranching. So maybe somehow they've like poisoned or like messed with bugs in the bug ranching.
Well, I mean, like, it sounds like, according to the prompt, like corporate had been giving out alternate food sources.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like, and those are the food sources that are poisoned. So the bugs,
yes, because
are still technically fine.
But we're feeding them poisoned food.
Like, but yeah, kind of like, we can't, there aren't enough to feed everyone. Versus kind of corporate is just sort of like putting out all these bars, possibly because sort of they figure to sort of like, again, like letting everyone starve to death, like people might not be cool with this, but just sort of like just accelerating kind of like, you know, like the solar poisoning, kind of like that might be fine. Like, I mean, that's just because people were stupid and living outside the corporate things, and you doesn't disprove it.
Maybe
so kind of like, yeah.
There was like maybe they laced the food source with sedatives, but when we feed that food to the cockroaches, it has a change in it that does, makes us weaker to the solar radiation, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we did talk about how we use the corporate food to feed the bugs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's like laced with something, but people are both, one, eating it straight, and two, feeding it to the bugs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. So do we want to, what kind of illness? Well, it did say creating brain zaps, erasing memory and identity, blah, blah, blah. Which aspects do you want to evolve? I'm thinking maybe bug ranching, because that's kind of related to the food.
I mean, kind of like the phrase that comes to mind is surviving off poisoned soil, which doesn't really build on it, but yeah, like that's just sort of like the immediate kind of like brain sort of sees.
I mean, that can definitely work. I mean, with evolving the aspects, it doesn't always have to be like a positive progression. It can also be something where like it has like degraded as well.
Yeah.
Elle, what do you think?
Yeah, I do like the idea of the ranchers being corrupted. Yeah.
So I'm going ahead and putting living off poison soil, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's
so then I will move parasol and starving rats to the center circle, which is a little bit cramped, but we'll make it work. Yoshi made this Roll20 thing, so we can blame him for any issues.
It looks like it's going pretty good, though. Hey.
Yes, I mean, the thing with Roll20 is that there will always be some issues, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
This game is quite hard to play online, but we make it work. So does anyone want to discard and draw another H3 card?
I think I'm content with mine.
What about you, Elle?
Yeah, can I change the card?
Yeah.
Does it have to be from story 3?
No, you can discard any card you want from any age.
Oh, awesome. I'm discarding happiness.
Yeah, I'm discarding. Is that the one that just I don't want to? Oh yeah, just didn't want to delete the wrong one, because I also discarded Decree. So how long do you want to have between now and then? I mean, H2 and H3.
Oh no, yeah, kind of the key thing is Cruz for you're still alive.
Nope.
Okay, so now we need to come up with a new character.
So I can give you new archetype cards, or just like one more new archetype card.
I can just work with what I've got.
All right. So since you're going to make a new character anyway, we can go ahead and take a 5-minute break. It's 36 right now, so let's come back at like 41, 42.
Sure.
Get up and stretch.
Oh, good.
Erica, are you there?
Yeah.
So, how long do we want to say has time been?
What were you thinking?
Maybe another couple of years. Alternatively, could be a shorter time. I was thinking perhaps Galosh got hit by this illness.
Sure, I'd be open to that. And then what happened?
Well, we can kind of go from there, but I guess we kind of want to think about the timeline of this illness, kind of like how long it has taken this like illness to spread through the community.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on like how much you eat and how much energy you exert. And maybe it's something to do with like how much you're outside, and like if you're outside more, it interacts with the sun and you have more impacts.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, we could say it's only been like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah,
that could work.
I'd be fine with that, or I'd be fine with a longer period of time. I guess it's just sort of like how fast acting is the food.
Well, since I mean, Galosh is pretty active, so maybe you are like one of the earlier, like one of the earlier victims because you're out in the sun a lot, you're doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And Elle, why don't you introduce us to your new character?
Valiente is a woman in her like late 20s. She grew up in the slums and now works as a private police officer, hired by the corporate powers that be. But I think her loyalty still lies in those slums. She identifies with all but one aspect, and the remaining the aspect is parasols. She like despises how those gang members are trying to be something that they're not, and the idea that you could do that you could, be in a slum, but, parade around like you're some hoity-toity fancy pants, that it scares her.
So for age 3, sometimes I like to popcorn a little bit. I mean, we only have 3 people, but Elle, since you've kind of been relegated to the middle, you can go first.
With the story cards?
Yeah.
Sorry, I heard you say something about popcorn and I got confused.
Oh, I mean popcorning as in we go in like a random order.
Okay, cool.
Like we kind of just like I mean you see it more if there's a bigger group of people, but people kind of like just like volunteer to go at a different like
yeah I get it,
like in a different order than we went the last 2 rounds.
Yeah. So I have the card is label. Using this word has become a badge we wear. It is a point of pride or something we are trying to hide. Make a connection, play on a previously defined word, explain why using it now labels us. skip the build a word phase in the conversation, explore the label. Yeah, okay, maybe like going on from the word parasol, maybe you know, people like identify as being a parasol, like, oh, she's such a parasol, she's so fancy, or that kind of stuff. Or is that what?
I guess we had called them solitas, right?
Oh, solitas, yes, that's right. Forgot about that. Yeah, solitas is totally that label. Am I playing this card right?
Yeah, that's
I don't think we had put solitas down definitely, but I'm just gonna say we can use that, and I'll just throw it down right now since we had already like used that word before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, people like Valiente would use the term solita derogatively, like, oh yeah, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where you're from, you're so dumb, you're a solita, like, but, you know, if you are walking around with a fancy parasol, you're like, hey, where my solitas at? Like, what else does that moment of truth may have outsiders? Okay. So let's have all three of us. Maybe Glosh and Vanessa are like at the markets. Maybe Valiente is like patrolling the markets and stop to say, hey, you're alive, to, you know, Vanessa and Glosh, and as we're like greeting each other, like a little posse of solitas walk past.
Yeah, so no, I mean, kind of like Glosh's response would be kind of like not really, while kind of holding her head, you know, just sort of grimacing.
Yeah, and since because we kind of ended on a bad note between Vanessa and Glosh last time, but I'm thinking since Glosh is now really sick and is maybe not totally herself, Vanessa is like taking care of you now. So
under resistance, just sort of like Glosh is going to be wandering off, and you know, just sort of like.
Yeah, I'm kind of envisioning some of the like symptoms being a little bit like Alzheimer's, like you're forgetting stuff, but like you get like people with Alzheimer's sometimes get like very aggressive, like when they realize they're not like they can't remember things. So maybe that's sort of some of the behavior we're seeing with her.
Sure.
So yeah, maybe we're kind of in the middle of this kind of situation. Like maybe Valiente has found Glosh and is like helping her find Vanessa again.
Yeah. And so I've got like, you know, my hand on Glosh's back, and it's like, there you are, Vanessa, you're alive. Here's your niece.
Oh, Caterpillar, I'm so glad. I'm so glad I found you. Thank you. Thank you, Valiente, so much. You're so very alive. Thank you so much. Gosh, what have I told you about wandering off?
Like you care.
Gosh, please.
And so like this trio of solitas walk past, giggling and being prissy and all that kind of stuff, and Valiente looks up at Vanessa and's like, hey, aren't those guys your friends? Aren't you a little Miss Solita? What's changed, girl? I've seen you in those parades.
I just need to find my parasol.
With Glosh, just wait one moment, then we'll go, okay? Well, you know, I used to love being a Solita, but ever since Cruz died and Blosh got sick, things have been hard.
Yeah, look, it's probably for the best. That's all a bit of a waste of time.
Well, let them have fun while they can.
Well, while they're having fun, people are dying. I meant, sorry. It's just everyone being sick all the time is just messing with me,
Yeah. So let's cut it there. Great. Who wants to go next? You can go, Erica, if you want to.
Pretty much. Yes, my sort of action is disuse. A word which was once common is gradually forgotten. Perhaps the reason we spoke about it has faded away, or we've intentionally left it behind. Make a connection. Pick a previously defined word. Explain why we no longer use the word. Skip the word, build a word phase in the conversation. Explore the disuse. Finally, tear up the word. New conventions. So, I mean, based on what I can see, I think the thing that would die is the parade of flowers. That you kind of like, there is now kind of like an active, kind of like an active sort of killing of that behavior as just sort of wasteful and frivolous.
Yeah.
Should go back to utilitarian ways. So yeah, no, I mean, kind of the scene that I imagine is like that Valiente, kind of like you've just discovered that, kind of like people had started trying to do it and like had harvested sort of do, and I imagine that somehow you are cracking down to stop it.
Yeah. So,
I mean, and Vanessa, would you have been there?
I don't think so.
So, I mean, possibly, like, I mean, we're just talking about the aftermath of just sort of like Valiente cracking down on that, and just sort of like that is no longer a thing that happens.
Yeah, maybe we're just like at my house, just like discussing what happened.
Maybe it's like a couple of weeks or a month or so after, like, or would it be that long?
Maybe it could be maybe like a week later, so it's still relatively new.
Yeah. Let's say I've found a glosh on the street again.
Well, I mean, like I'm still trying to find the parasol and just sort of like and the place with kind of all the shiny sort of bits, because I mean, you need to kind of like, I mean, like I need to get it together.
Yeah. Glosha, your parasol's at home with your auntie. I'll take you there now. Come on.
Oh, that's not the nice one. I need to find the nice one.
Don't worry about it. Come with me. Bang, 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 bang. Cop knock.
Valiente. Oh, Kalash. Oh, please come in. Oh, Kalash, where did you get off to this time?
I mean, like, you don't care, so whatever. And I'm just gonna like kind of like stomp up to my room.
She's looking for her nice parasol, apparently. Like,
this again.
Like, she's, I don't know if it's a sickness or if she's been talking with those rebels that want to start those parades up again. They're just looking for trouble.
I don't know. Here, please sit down. Would you like a candy? Would you like some candy? Which is candy bugs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, give me that. Give me that worm. Like, give me those sour worms.
The sour worms.
Oh yeah.
So
Nice and chewy. Yeah. Hey, look, I know you get a lot of people come in here for your services, but like, have you heard anyone talking about getting the Parade of Flowers going again, or?
I've heard some rumors, but nothing concrete.
All right, you let me know, because we gotta stop that frivolous shit.
I wish we could, but it's just not enough. Not enough extra material.
Hey, but it's all about the attitudes, hey? When those soul leaders get out there thinking they're king shit, they're thinking they're better than us. No, we won't take that.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see what the butterflies say.
That's probably a good point to stop.
Yes. So I will go last, and I'm actually going to use a card from each one. And I am going to use the future, actually. How we referred to what is yet to come and what it means to us. This may be an important event in the future, or the future as a broad concept. And so since we're kind of getting near the end of the game, this word is going to be like kind of ominous for me. And I was thinking something like the migration, like, you know how like monarch butterflies do this huge migration every year.
Yes.
So I was thinking like the migration as something like that Vanessa has kind of been seeing in the future, but doesn't quite know what's going to happen. But it's something big that's going to like change things forever. Like something, it could be something really bad, or it could be something really like mundane, but it's something that's going to change everything.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it's part of, like, you've got that card, and maybe like this whole scene is within a vision. Like,
yeah. Actually, that's really interesting. So, for the scene, I'm gonna start it by myself with me being in a vision, and then I think it would be cool if Gouache came and interrupted, like in the middle. Sure. So I think kind of like I'm kind of in more of like, you know, like a kind of traditional like clairvoyant type vision of, but I'm seeing all these butterflies, and of course I've cultivated lots of different kinds of butterflies, and it's really bizarre to see more than one type of butterfly doing a migration at once. But all of these butterflies like I see them start as a bunch of caterpillars kind of crawling in from like all different corners to like one center point, and then they all like maybe it's like they all climb up this like singular tree, turn into cocoons, and then they all start hatching and kind of like flying around this tree. And then like it kind of like my vision kind of zooms out a little bit where I see them in one mass kind of flying together, and I see them kind of flying away in a big migration. And I just have this really ominous feeling of like something is happening, like something bad, something banal, something that we might not understand what it is, but something is happening like right now that's going to change things.
Yeah, so I think at that point is when kind of like Glosh would come in, just sort of like blanket crest around herself. She's gotten very thin, and just sort of like going kind of, and Vanessa, and Vanessa.
What? Oh, what is it, caterpillar?
I just feel so cold. And then she's just gonna kind of like kneel down on the ground, kind of like, again, the very slow kind of like fall. No, and just start convulsing.
Oh my God. So I think that's like a good place to stop with that vision and very like the medical emergency. So yeah, that's the end of age 3 pretty much. So now we're I'm going to read kind of the last moments of the isolation / the aftermath. So a small group of our resistance is all that's left after the corporation's targeted food poisoning attack. What records do we leave physically amidst these old skyscrapers or sprawled in the hidden corners of cyberspace? So I'm going to deal the legacy cards, and each of us can do like an epilogue for our character, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I think everybody gets 1. Only 6 cards. Actually, yeah, I think there's a couple of different options on each one. So go ahead and look at the legacy. And kind of pick which you should have 3 options and do a short epilogue for the story, either for your specific character or for the whole isolation. And I'm going to go first just because I have a really good one, and that's a ritual for the dead. I'm going to assume Glosh has died here. And so the ritual for the dead that I have is, I think maybe I have a little garden / outside area around the house, and I kind of take Galosh's body and I put it in like a planter that can act as kind of like a slab that I can put her body on, but it is like I do put it where like the dirt is, and I cover her body with like different kinds of caterpillars. And over the next couple of weeks and months, those caterpillars turn into cocoons, and the ritual is complete when the caterpillars hatch from the cocoons and become butterflies, and they fly away. And I essentially let the body decompose in the planter. And various people come and visit the body over the course of the next few weeks and months. Valiente comes, and various other people in the community come, people who remember what Glosh was like as the roach rat kind of before the disease got her. And I think people start to copy this ritual with other victims of the poisoning, which may not be the best in terms of like getting rid of the poison, but like it's kind of inevitable that this poison has spread. So there's a lot more like the kind of this like ascent of butterflies is the signal that the ritual has ended for this person, and like that's kind of like symbolic of them going to the next world.
Mm-hmm.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, I was thinking I would go next, Erica, because you're dead and you might have something more like epic to say about the world. So, I have a moment of deja vu, and so Valiente has the sickness now, and she is suffering from dementia type symptoms, and she knocks on Glosh's door, probably during this ritual period, and has this stranger by the arm, and she's like, "Here, I have Glosh. She was looking for her parasol again." And this stranger's like, "I'm not even that person. Let go of me. Like, I don't know what parasol you're talking about. This isn't my home. Like, you just get inside. Your aunt will look after you now." And maybe we'll just not go into that and just have a shocked and saddened looking Vanessa with maybe Glosh's corpse covered in caterpillars in the background.
So yeah, no, I actually have a nice one for finishing. Is how you will be remembered. So yeah, like I'd like to think kind of inside kind of like the corporate, at some point someone comes down and just sort of like does a documentary of just sort of like, and just sort of like the remains of parasols, and just sort of like, yeah, kind of like documenting some of the butterfly rituals before kind of like everyone dies and we can't maintain the ritual anymore. No, and yeah, because I mean, butterflies are kind of high maintenance. Kind of like inside these intense solar conditions, because I mean they are in fact being sent out to their death. Kind of like, I mean, they're not going to survive outside. Yeah, no, and we're just kind of remembered, kind of like inside this library is this kind of like strange fey culture that just sort of like existed on the edge of the corporate thing before people moved on to better and greater things.
Wow, this is so fucking depressing.
Yes, but it's so beautiful.
I know.
Yes, it's giving me so many vibes of like 20th century anthropology when they were like, "Oh, all the Native Americans are gonna die forever. We must document their culture."
Yeah.
It's like, well meanings, but so problematic.
You have these grieving families there with a camera behind them.
Yeah. Kind of like, I mean, no, you could just imagine the people just kind of looking at kind of like, I mean, it's nice that you think it's beautiful, but you could be fucking helping.
So why aren't you guys dying? Give us some of your food. Oh man.
Yeah. Wow,
you guys are so great.
You're whitewashing kind of the genocide that you're just sort of corporate masters visited upon us.
Yeah.
And I mean, kind of like, and just sort of playing into that mythology that, kind of that we were foolish and fickle when in fact we were murdered.
Yeah. These people didn't even know how to grow healthy food. They killed themselves and went insane.
Well, this session was so great. Thank you two so much. If you have some time, I'd like to do like a quick session of Roses and Thorns, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
So, I guess, Erica, we can start with you.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, if I remember right, kind of Roses and Thorns are just sort of like favored moments. Yeah, no, I did enjoy twisting the knife. Cool with that. I mean, it's clearly meant to be a slightly depressing game.
Yeah, I mean, the language dies at the end, so like nobody remembers this like culture that we've created. So
yeah, no, and we did pick the nastier genocide. The other one was kind of more of a cultural genocide.
Yes, no, we literally picked people start dying.
No, and kind of we picked the literal genocide. You're kind of like that. That's just going to be depressing, and I love it. I'm just trying to think of Thorns. Oh, I mean, kind of like I did vaguely regret spending my thing on Bloom and Stem because that never came up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it's not like you had a lack of good cards.
Yeah. No, I still got good cards. So
Yeah.
so that is probably my roses and thorns.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a roll of the dice, especially with kind of a lower number of players. We create this big world, and then we kind of have to we kind of end up not playing as much as we created.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I like the fact that those words were there. Like, it created like a richer feeling around the parasols, and that we didn't have to say those words. Like, you don't say lampshade, lampstand, or sometimes you do, but it's like, it's not part of everyday conversation. Those just are those things, and those things are important. Like, I think that makes the world richer.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm actually getting called up for dinner.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so
Enjoy.
I've given my roses and thorns, so I will bow out. And you can sort of give yours, unfortunately, without me.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for playing, Erica.
Okay.
Also, before you go away, this is the first Gauntlet game that I've played with all women, and I think that's fucking great.
Me too. Well, so I'm non-binary, but like female presenting.
Yes.
I really appreciate this all women / female presenting game.
Yes. As much as I love the Gauntlet guys, it's just really good not to have dudes everywhere.
Yes. I was thinking of that when we started playing, and I was like, this is nice.
Yeah.
To have an all femme group.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I am going to sign off. Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
My roses, I really don't have any thorns. I'm trying to think of them, but I really can't. I really love the game mechanics. I think the clear phasing and the cards are really great and evocative. And then the worlds and the scenarios, that seems like a really cool thing to play off. And then also the whole concept of a game about building language and language dying. That's so cool.
Yeah. Do you have any feedback for me as a facilitator? This isn't really a GM game, so I was more of a facilitator, but
oh no, I really felt that you gave me everything that I needed to get, and when there was something that I did not quite understand, you were able to really clearly convey that. And then when you were playing in the phases, that felt really great and natural too. So I didn't feel clunky or anything. And I loved your character and the whole butterfly symbology that came in. That was really lovely. And yeah, I kind of I'd like to have some thorns just for the purpose of critique, but I ain't got none.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for playing.
Maybe having to get up at 5 a.m.
Yes. Yeah, I've definitely been there because I'm in Hawaii, and Yoshi was definitely like, why don't you do the second slot instead of the first?
Thank you, Yoshi.
Yes. Well, I'm going to stop the broadcast now.